Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman, and today we're going to talk about the new Lost V2 rocket. A lot of you are out there familiar with the original Lost rocket, and it was a board that really started a revolution in shortboard design. It allowed everybody to ride significantly shorter boards and smaller boards, and made surfing a lot easier and a lot more fun for a lot of people. What's different about the V2? For the original rocket, the main thing that set the rocket apart from a lot of other boards out there was how flat the nose rocker was and how exaggerated the tail rocker was. So in the original rocket, it was very flat up front, so very straight, and then there was a lot of kick in the back. It was almost like you're riding a skateboard. With most riders, that worked really well when there was decent waves or better, but in subpar waves, having all of that tail rocker slowed the board down and made it a little bit sluggish for an average surfer. So what Matt Biolos wanted to do with the new V2 was just give it more all-around performance and widen the range of the rocket. So with the V2, you're going to see more nose rocker in the forward 12 inches of the board. So right up here from about my hand forward, there's a little bit more nose rocker than the original rocket. And then also in the tail, there is less tail rocker than the original rocket. So in the original rocket, you would have seen the tail actually bending off to about here, and now it's a little bit flatter through the back and a little bit more rocker in the front. And so what's that going to do for you? Basically, flatter tail rocker is going to give you more drive off your back foot. So if you're in grovel conditions or mushy conditions and you got to be driving off your back foot and trying to create speed, that flatter tail rocker is going to get you going better. A little bit more nose rocker. If you go with flatter tail rocker, you got to go with a little bit more nose rocker just to keep the nose from poking in on steep drops, and also just to give the board a little bit more performance in bullier waves. If you're doing late drops or going straight down, having a little bit more nose kick is going to help there as well. One thing that you're also going to see that's different on the V2 as opposed to the original is you're going to see a little bit of a hip or a wing right here, which is just in back of the front fins, or right at the trailing edge of the front fins. When they flattened out the tail rocker, another way to keep that snap off the top, keep it crisp, is to just give a little bit of a bump in the outline, and then that basically allows the board to turn off the outline and off of the rocker in the bottom at the same time. You see most of these boards being set up as tri-fins. You will see some of the boards out there available as a 5-fin, so you can run them tri or quad. I mean, one thing about Matt Biolos, he's definitely not married to the quad. A lot of guys are like quad, and this board rides incredibly well as a tri throughout the entire range. If you do love quads, you can get one as a quad, as a 5-fin, and ride it as a quad. But this board will ride equally well small surf, mushy surf, good surf as a tri exclusively as well. This board that I'm holding right here is a standard polyurethane blank with polyester resin. This is, the standard construction coming out of Lost and what most people are riding. Another way to get your V2 rocket is in the Hydroflex Natural construction, and Hydroflex Natural starts out with that same PU blank that the poly board would start out with, so it's got that familiar feel. It has a stringer down the center. Beyond that, it then has the exclusive Hydroflex glass job, which is a 3-dimensional glass job, 2 different directions of weave, and then a third direction that actually sends fibers straight into the blank. It uses epoxy resin and a vacuum bag, which then infuses that third directional fiber into the blank and pulls all the extra resin out of the board. So it ends up being really, really light and strong and resistant to delamming, since the fiberglass is anchored into the board. So that's the Hydroflex Natural. It's, again, starts out with that same polyurethane blank or PU blank, and then it has epoxy resin and 3D glass vacuum bagging to pull the board all together. So looking at this one, again, the same shape. It's the V2 rocket. You're going to see a little bit more nose rocker in that forward 12 inches. Still relatively flat, so it is still easy to paddle, but it's just going to save you on a few of those late drops, having a little bit extra nose kick right here. You're going to see that same tail rocker. Again, it's got a good amount of tail rocker, just not as exaggerated as the original rocket. And then you're going to see that same bump in the outline right here, that same wing, the very, very small bump wing right here. Again, right at the trailing edge of your fins. So it's the Lost V2 Rocket. Really good all-around board. Great board if you're going to just have one short board in your quiver to cover the widest range of use. For the people who are on their game, you could ride these things really small, like well below your height. If you want a short board that's easy to surf, if you're coming, maybe getting your first short board, or you just want a board that just no nonsense is super easy to surf, makes you surf really well, you can get it as big as your height, and then it'll be incredibly easy to surf. If you're a very good surfer, advanced level surfer, you could ride this thing 5 inches underneath your height and have an absolute blast on it. So anywhere in that range is going to work. It just depends on how easy you want the board to paddle and how easy you want it to be to catch waves. So Lost V2 Rocket, great board.